Но да. Okay, guys, so patch 12.3, and it's a pretty damn massive patch, I would say. It's full of changes, both champion-wise and item-wise. Like, there is so much system changes. Even though it doesn't look like too many champions, it's so huge because some of those champs are going hard out and some are going hard in. So it's like, it's a pretty massive patch, honestly. Starting off by Ahri. She gets her HP down and her base armor as well. Well, I would say it's a fair trade, knowing that they buff all 4 of her spells. So basically you get like more 5% more scaling on Q, a bit more mana later on. Now you get killing minions for monsters, grants Ahri an essence fragment. After obtaining 9 of them, Ahri consumes them to heal a lot. When Ahri scores a takedown on a named champion within 30 seconds of damaging them, she feasts upon their essence, healing almost twice as much. So basically, it's the old passive thingy, we all know that, and now as well you get healing from killing champions. So that's pretty good. The Q we already mentioned. W, you have the damage up by 20 flat, which is actually a lot. That's a lot. 20 flat you just have here. You have the mana reduced by 15. The flame duration is lower though, but you have more movement speed. Longer, I guess. Okay, and you have increased damage on E, both flat and the ratio by 20 again. And you have less mana. You don't have the amplifier anymore though, so E is just charm now. You don't amplify your spells. And the ultimate, the initial duration is now 15 seconds, which is really nice. I hope they make that on Kha'Zix as well, honestly, because when you evolve R, 10 seconds are just like not enough. Consuming a champion's essence, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so basically it's like whenever you get a Q, you just get another cast, right? It also extends the duration by up to 10 seconds and grants an additional cast Spirit Rush. Okay, so after you proc by passive, your passive from champion, and your route is active, you just get a reset. Basically, like Qs get you resets. So I think, guys, I'm not gonna say a big word, but my opinion is Ahri is gonna be the most broken champ on mid lane. I just said. I think, honestly, this champ is just good for everything. Like, super nice wave clear at some point, super nice roaming, super good fighting, can push side lanes also, can move, can flank, has like many good matchups, and I don't know, it's just such a good champ, honestly. I'm kind of looking forward to Ahri, honestly. If I play on my mid account, I would spam her a lot. I just love this champ so much. I used to play it a lot on mid before. So yeah, that's a pretty big one. Then it goes on Akshan. You have less movement speed on passive if you cancel it, which is just a tiny little bit of 15 early. I don't think it's that big. And also the damage is just 10 early. So what they did here is your early game, like first few levels, you have like too much movement speed and too much damage, so they just hit that a little bit. I think Akshan is still gonna be broken as hell though. We all know like this champ how it works. It has like still super high win rate, and I don't think this changes too much. I think even his scaling is just absurdly good into the game. So yeah, that's just a small one. We have a Amumu nerf. I think, yeah, Amumu is nerfed. Maximum passive damage reduction up to 100% per instant physical damage, capped at 50. Okay, so Amumu can no longer block all the damage from creeps. That's a new one. So no longer ARAM compilations where Amumu freezes the wave, I guess. This is a nerf, right? Yeah, didn't miss something. Yep. Okay, then we have Brand. Now passive mana refund upon killing an enemy. Now curse okay. Bouncing enemy before. Okay. I guess that's just like some small little updates here, nothing special. Then we have Caitlyn. That's a really big nerf for Kate. She has her AD growth reduced by 0.4, so that means at level 5 you would already be missing 2 AD, which is a lot. And yeah, I mean, you can see it here, right? And her Q also gets reduced damage, so that means worse wave clear after the first target. I would say that Kate was in a pretty shit spot overall, honestly, for solo queue. Like, no one was picking Caitlyn anyway. I mean, for competitive, it's a good champ because of her push, right? That's a pretty big hit for competitive as well. I don't think we'll be seeing any more Caitlyn on competitive for sure. But on solo queue, I think that puts her in a really bad state. I think they should just think about like making a small rework or something, because this champ is just so bad for solo queue overall. So yeah, I mean that's a pretty big nerf. Then it comes the Corki. That's another big nerf. Well, Corki for solo queue, honestly, guys, is a super shit champ. It has always 50, 60. I can't speak. 46% win rate, and that's super bad, obviously, right? But for competitive, it has been pick or ban, the most insane and most broken champ. So what we have is the package goes from 8 minutes to 10 minutes, which means you cannot contest the Rift Herald anymore, and that's what makes Corki strong, I think. Basically, Corki secures you free Herald, and he can't do that anymore, not at least like the early one. And also, you get package every 5 instead of 4 minutes now. Also really big, because you need to time your packages really well before the Drake. If you don't time the package correctly before the Drake, you will fuck it up. And now you could just fuck it up a bit and you will still fix it, because Drake is 5 minutes. Later on, the second, third, fourth Drake, I mean. And you get 4, but now you have to play it really good. So that's a huge nerf for Corki. I don't think that much for solo queue. I think it's whatever for solo queue. I don't think his win rate is gonna drop at all. I think it's gonna stay the same. He's just shit champ, I think. But for competitive, it's a huge hit. LeBlanc, another huge hit. That's just so big, like 5 damage per rank on W. That's the first spell you max on LeBlanc, and it's your main wave clear spell as well. Also your main damage spell in a lot of cases. Later on, especially, like you just flash WR into some carries or whatever. So that's just so huge. 20 damage on LeBlanc, and it's not that much anyway. 235 is not that much if you think about it, compared to many other mid lane champs like Syndra, Oriana, or Ahri even, or whatever. You know, it's just not a great wave clear spell her W anyway. LeBlanc had kinda shit wave clear, I would say. But now it's even worse. This is just so big. I think LeBlanc will go out definitely. LeBlanc already had bad win rate in solo queue. I think for competitive that's so huge. But for solo queue it's gonna be like... It's gonna be shit anyway, but it's gonna be even worse. I mean, this is just so big. I think this is just the biggest nerf I've seen in a while, honestly. Just kills the champ completely, I think. Then we have Lillia buff. I think that's a pretty big buff. I will try Lillia for sure this patch. What happened before is like Lillia got buffed all of her spells, but got her ultimate sleep duration nerfed, and they're just basically refunding this kind of now. And you have like your old sleep duration. You have 225 and 25 at the end. 25 at the end is obviously great, but this was too low, and this as well. So this kind of got covered. I think that's pretty huge. Lilia's build is going to be really broken right now. Also, you should keep in mind that Rewise got buffed, so I think Rewise is going to be a great item on Lillia. Second or third item. So it can be really good potentially. I will try her for sure. Then we have Nami. Your passive gives more movement speed now. Double, in fact. Now it is decaying though. And also your E got nerfed. So basically that's a nerf for Nami. You get 5 damage off of E, which is 15 in total, right? And also you get a bit more movement speed, but now it's decaying. Okay? Now the movement speed is decaying, so that's pretty important. I think it's kind of small, but it will impact the Lucian Nami combo. I don't think it's the greatest anyway, but I think it's gonna be even worse after this. Then we have Quinn. That's a Quinn buff. I think they before when they reworked Quinn, they made her W to be max last, right? So that's kind of good in that sense, because you don't touch W's. It stays at this. You get flat 8 bonus attack speed. And also the flurry and the ultimate now deals more damage as well. So that's pretty good. I don't think it's that big overall. But we can see some Quinn in some matchups top. I'm not really sure what she's good against. I remember before they used to play it a lot in Riven when it was meta into like some Darius or like this type of stuff. But in this meta, I don't think there is many champs that she's great into. I don't think it's Quinn being bad. I think it's just the meta being really bad for her. Minions and lesser monsters that kill Senna have 10% chance. Now less than 3 to spawn a mist. Okay, so Senna AD carry. That's basically a Senna AD carry nerf, okay? That's a pretty big one. That's a pretty big one. We have Twisted Fate nerf as well. Another huge nerf, guys. Like, this patch just doesn't stop. This nerf as well. You max Q first, right? And basically what ends up happening is you get 5% more AP ratio, which is encouraging towards building Twisted Fate AP. Because your second item right now is Rapid Fire. But you get the same treatment as LeBlanc. 5 per level, which ends up being 20 at max rank. And that's really bad. That's just really bad. That's your main wave clear spell. I mean, you can still wave clear with the WQ, right? But I would say it's pretty big. And also the attack speed. That's the spell you last the max. So you just basically rank up this ability once and you have 20 for the rest of the game. But now it's 10. Super huge as well. I think that's pretty big for TF. His win rate in solo queue was shit anyway. I mean, I think that's targeting pro play exactly. I mean, I think that's just targeting competitive. I don't think this affects TF too much for solo queue. I think he was kind of not the best champ for lower use, especially anyways. But this for higher use and for pro play is going to be huge. I would say he's out, same as Leblanc. Then we have Zeri, less movement speed by 5. Full charge basic attack, okay. So now it has to be 15% and not 20. Chain lightning, magic damage on ultimate is also a bit less later on second and third rank. And we have a new thing, chain lightning, magic damage can now critically strike. Okay, that's an interesting one. So they're encouraging towards building her as a crit champ, right? So that's nice. I mean, people are abusing Zeri, building some random items like cleavers and Trinity forces and this type of shit. So I hope that encourages them to building it as an AD carry now. I don't think so, but yeah. And now it comes the big part. Actually, the items. The thing I didn't check this patch, and it's so huge. You can see so many items. I'm actually really hyped up to see it. Let's go one by one. For fighters, mythic items, we're shifting a couple items from high health, all-in-one purchases into more unique and offensive options. I like it already. I like more damage. Not all fighters should be tanky and durable, and those who should, like Juggernauts, can lean on specific legendaries for that. I agree 100%, guys. It's unacceptable that a Hin Zhao jungle is more tanky than a Sejuani jungle. What the fuck? Or any other champ that builds Gore Drinker Trinity. Like if you go Jarvan and you go Gore Drinker Sterak, you are more tanky than Sejuani with 2 items, and you do more damage also. How is that? How is that normal? You know? Like I agree completely. Like bruiser items should not be tank items, and I'm happy that they fixed that finally because it's kind of boring and annoying. Trinity Force is the exception here. We're bumping up its health to make sure it matches the other options. Yep, that's true. I mean, Trinity Force is just shit item. That's why no one is buying it. Because it's too squishy, and when you play Bruiser, you don't want to be like paper, right? This way, the amount of health you get won't be the main reason why you choose it. Yep, a certain meeting. That's true. I mean, it should be like this. All the mythics should have the same health. And you should not choose Gore Drinker over Trinity because Gore Drinker is more tanky and it's kind of the same damage, right? It should be like, this one does damage in this way, this one does damage in that way. And they both have the same health. Choose how you want to do damage with your bruiser. Are you Viego? Are you Hin Zhao? Whatever, right? You get the point. So I think that's pretty fair. I think it's really nice. Each mythic should have its own unique benefits. Yes, basically what I said. And yeah, let's see the starting by Divine Cinderer. So we have Sheen into Fetch into Kindle Gem before. Now it's Sheen into Warhammer into Kindle Gem. I like it. I like Warhammer more. You have too much health in this build. So for example, playing Viego jungle was really shit building this shit. Now I can build, instead of Shin on first base, I can just go for the double longsword, and I think it's going to be much better. You have 5 more damage and 100 less health. Pretty fair, I would say. I mean, gold wise, it's not really worth it. It's a nerf, you could say. But you cannot really evaluate this in gold. But when you have more damage, you start clearing the jungle fast. So you're going to be on more places on the map and this type of stuff. So I mean, this specifically for jungle. For top, it's kind of the same principle we were talking about: pushing the wave, hitting the towers, and so on. But overall, for competitive, maybe it's kind of a nerf for boosters. But I think that's what kind of they're aiming, because in competitive, no one is playing tanks right now, as I said. So yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I think it's really fair. I don't think it's like bad in any way. I think it's good. It's healthy for the game. That's what I think. It's the correct thing to do. Then we have the same thing on Gore Drinker. Here, though, you lose more health, 150, because Gore Drinker was just, for some reason, 450 HP. I don't know why. It was just broken, honestly. And now you get 10 extra damage here. Another good trade, I would say. This trade is better than this one, right? Because here you're trading 2 times 5 AD for 150, and here you're trading 5 AD for 100. So value-wise, this item is still gonna be a bit better, I guess. But Senna has its own purposes for different champs, right? So you cannot really compare them. And the build path also, Iron Spike into Warhammer into Kindle Gem. I like that as well. I just like that so much. I love it. I fucking love it for jungle. I mean, they're targeting jungle, by the way. By this change, they're targeting jungle. And it's just going out of base with this instead of this. I think it's going to be so much healthier for the game, playing a champ like Hin Zhao or Lee Sin or whatever. Like, your champ is not made to be the tankiest champ on the planet at 2 components, right? So that was really stupid. Trinity Force, we have 100 HP more, as they said, too much dose, and I completely agree. I think it's really good. Now, though, you get less damage from stacks. So before you would get 6 base AD per stack, stacking up to 5 times, max 30, right? And now it's 4 stacking up again to 5 times, but now it's 20 instead of 30. Pretty fair. Honestly, I think this item is the most buffed out of those 3 of the mythics. Looks really nice. I think it's really balanced. It's just really healthy for the game. I'm really happy that they're doing this finally. I would say buff-wise, this item got buffed the most. I would say then this Gordon card, I would say, is still like stronger than before probably, and this probably a bit whatever. But yeah, pretty good ones. And then we go into the legendary fighting items and components. So we have a bunch of legendary items here. We're gonna start by reading the description again. Our approach to fighters legendaries are similar. Shift health into AD across items, basically the same thing. Another top priority is to move Sterak's gauge out of being go-to default option for all fighters. That's basically what I said, right? Like every champ in the game is just going Sterak, like Gordonker into Sterak, and this should not be. There should be more options. There should be more things to choose from. Lighter fighters should now be more integrated this work with Death's Dance, which now scales with your other AD purchases and sustain pulls. Blah blah blah. We're all adjusting a few support items for fighters like Mo and Hydra. This item needs to be powerful enough for lighter champions, and finally a few components. Okay, fair enough. We have Death's Dance gold increased by 200. So automatically, guys, this is a top laner's item. I don't think a jungler can afford buying this. It's just too expensive. It just costs way too much gold. You have 200 more gold on this item. It's just too expensive for jungle. Let's see what they did to it. So before you would use to store 35% physical damage of the post-mitigated damage, right? And now instead you store 30% of all types, not including tour damage. So that includes magical damage then, which is successively taken as tour damage over 3 seconds instead. Now also applies to damage on shields. Okay. And the passive, you would heal 15% upon taking Q or assist. Now you heal 175% of your bonus AD if a champion dies within 3 seconds after you've dealt damage to them. Okay, fair enough. So what you're getting here is more tankiness overall. So not only is this item good against ADs now, it's also good against APs, right? Because it stores all type of damage, not only physical. But now as well you have like this, which is, I think, will be more HP in most cases. Let's say you have like 200 AD, bonus AD. You would get like 350 healing. Or wait, am I... No. Yeah, you'd get 350 healing, which is not bad. Won't say it's the greatest, but it's not bad. I think it can be kind of a nerf, the healing at least. But we're looking at this, right? Because this is the main thing. You kind of, the point is, like, what you buy this item on is like champs that can basically take resets. Like, let's say a Viego, for example, you know? And not care too much about the damage that you're going to take after, because you're going to die from it. 200 gold, as I said, too expensive for most jungle champs, and unless you really hate, you won't be buying this in jungle. Would be great for some top champs though, for sure. Sterak's gauge. Attack damage from 50 to 0. The claw that catch passive, okay? That claws that catch. Gain 40% of your base AD as bonus AD. Okay. So let's say you have 100 AD, you would get 40, right? Pretty simple. After dealing damage to or taking damage from an enemy champion, heal a portion of your maximum health over 6 seconds. So they're removing that part of the Sterak, okay? And now instead, the lifeline, the shield is getting changed or buffed. Let's see. I hope it's buffed because this otherwise is a huge nerf. If you take damage that would reduce you below 30% HP, right? Gain a shield that absorbs, before it used to be 100 plus 8 per stack of bloodlust. This is the bloodlust getting removed, so you don't have this anymore. And now instead, equal to 75% of your bonus health. That decays over 375. Okay. So I would say that's a slight nerf, probably. 75% of your bonus health. I don't know how much bonus health you're gonna have at this point. I guess it's gonna be more consistent in like the lower numbers. Let's say if you used to have like 1 or 2 stacks of bloodlust, the shield was pretty shit, it was pretty low. I guess in those numbers this is gonna be higher, right? But in the higher numbers, like in team fights, I don't think it can beat like the 5 stacks of this, you know. So I think it's an interesting change. I think I like it. It's for sure like more simpler to understand and like more balanced and healthier for the game, I would say probably. Also, this can scale a bit better, so it's pretty fair. It's pretty fair. Now you don't default into this item. I mean, what they did is like the later you get this, the more base AD you're gonna have, right? So the more value you're gonna have out of this item. So buying it second item, maybe it's lower AD. I need to make the calculations and see, but for sure that's the idea, right? So that's pretty good. More Mortius, 5 AD, 5 haste. Now the shield, this is the most shit thing that they've ever done, by the way. And now instead is 200 plus 225% for melee, bonus AD. Okay. Okay. I mean, that's pretty nice. That's encouraging for you building AD, right? And now the items give more AD as well. So that's pretty nice. When Lifeline is activated, gain 12% Omnivamp until the end of combat. Okay. That's really good. That's really good. This item deserves the hard buff, and I think like they buffed literally everything. Maybe it's actually broken now. They buffed its AD, they buffed its haste, they buffed its shield, and they buffed its passive as well on the shield. So that's pretty nice. Blade of the Ruined King, you have 100 gold extra. Again, we're not gonna be seeing this for bruisers too much, probably. Too expensive. Even now for Viego, no one was building it. And Blade of the Ruined King is the best item on Viego. I mean, it's the Blade of Viego, no? So, yeah, no one was getting it because it was too expensive and the build part, the components are just too shit. But now, I think the trade-off is worth. Honestly, 100 gold for 2% extra damage is completely worth it. But it's just too much gold overall. So that's the problem. At least for Viego. That's what I'm popping in my head because I don't think anyone else is building this item anyway, right? So yeah. Then we have Cleaver, probably the biggest change of the patch, like the one that's going to impact the game the most. How I see it right now is Cleaver is going to be the go-to second item for most champs in jungle. You just go Cleaver after Gordinker or Divine, and third item you go Sterk, basically. That's how I see it. So now you have like 100 HP less, which is the same thing as Divine Cinderer, and 5 AD more. The same as Divine Cinderer, as I said, but also you have 5 more haste. 30 haste, that's a damn lot of haste. For some champs, that's gonna be really good, I think. Maybe even Nocturne. We can see, but yeah, I think that's overall really healthy for the game as well. As I said, it's really good. I like it. I think it's a real fair trade. It's encouraging for people to build it. Ravenous Header, pretty fair, kind of shit item. Again, too expensive. It costs 3.3k, so just too expensive. This, finally, I mean, I was complaining for this for like 1 year, that this is the most shit component in the game. And I'm really happy that they finally made it match its gold, you know? Because why would you ever buy this over Phage, right? Because Phage was just so much better for the gold. And yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that it is finally. Also, Hex Drinker, really encouraging for people to build it on lane. I think it was a really shit item for a while. No one was getting it, but now that's really good. 5 AD is a lot. In gold, I think 5 AD in gold is like 175 gold. So that's 200 gold value to the item almost. It's really big. And the last change for the patch of items, we have Turbo Champ Tank, like a Kali and Rele, while we looked at the solution, blah blah blah. Let's just see it. So update review pass game 5 stacks per instance of damage out against enemy champion or large monsters, 1 stack. Okay, and now it's instead damage taken from champions and large monsters and 1 stack for every 25 units traveled. So now you need to move more to get a 1 stack, right? But also instead of dealing damage to get stacks, you need to take damage to get stacks. So they're encouraging it to be built on tanks, right? It's a good idea. Refill passive bonus damage at 100 stacks. Your next basic attack deals magic damage to all nearby enemies, increased by some amount, and now it's increased by even more on minions and monsters. So I don't know what is this encouraging, like jungle, I guess. Not people building it more in jungle because no one is kind of doing it jungle. But yeah, they're just trying to nerf the Kali, I think. Tank item in on dashy champs like Irelia and Kali. Yeah. We're further adjusting its stacking mechanism to make Turbo Tank better suited for tanking rather than for turbocharging at enemies. Okay, yeah. That's a pretty good point. I think that's a good nerf. I'm not sure if Akali is gonna keep on building it. I hope not, because I think this is super bad for the game, but it would be interesting to see. I don't think she will. I don't think it was that great anyway. I think people find like counterplay to it at some point, so yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. We have some bug fixes, the normal stuff. Crystal Rose Akshan looks insane. Looks like straight out of Bollywood, honestly. Crystal Rose, Jana, and Wither Rose, Ellis. Ellis, what a champ, Ellis. Why are they not buffing Ellis? That's a good question, but it's a topic for another time. Thank you guys for watching. This patch was a pretty long rundown, but it was a pretty big patch. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you will, and